Happy Thursday. I'm Carter, your host, and welcome to the channel 5 Up Recovery. Um, I've been going to be doing a Thursday show, and I kind of decided to start laser focusing down, and it kind of worked out really well. I don't think that there's very much Horus Heresy content coming out these days. There's tons of 40K. I love 40K to death. It's my first love, but there is a deluge of shows and things about that. There's plenty of really, really good material out there already. But Horus Heresy, there's not as much. It's a little lesser known. And I figure, like Games Workshop had stopped doing Heresy Thursday, so let's bring it back here for 5 Up Recovery. So Thursdays are going to be Thursday with Horus, and it's going to be us talking Horus Heresy. And for each of the first few months of the show, I've decided I recently started an Alpha Legion army. I love them. They're kind of the wily and secretive Legion Astartes. They're kind of fun. They're like one of the stealth units, or one of the stealth chapters and whatnot. Legions, excuse me. And one of the fun things they can do is that they have the ability to steal a unit from any other Legion because they've infiltrated them. I thought that was really cool and really fun, so I figured for the first few months of the show, we're just going to go through each Legion and talk about the units that I want to steal. And another thing I want to do is I just want to make like a character out of each Legion, just with their specialties, their equipment, and all that sort of stuff. You can really customize your heroes and your HQs in this edition, which is really fun. And kind of the most interesting part, with the challenge system where your heroes are duking it out with each other, you really, the whole point is narrative battles and things like that. And I really like going through and making your own dude, like your own guy that you've come up with a name for and a backstory, and maybe you kind of throw honors on them as the game goes on. But I figure it'd be fun. So to start out, I'm going to break down Alpha Legion because I figure that's the easiest. We're not going to be stealing anything from them, but kind of you can see the kind of the structure of the show and see if it's your jam or not. So without further ado, this is Heresy Thursday, or Thursdays with Horus. I'm your host, Carter Reynolds, 578 days sober and counting. So grab yourself your beverage. I've got my night coffee, my final vice, the night coffee, and tuck her in with some models, paintbrush, or just kick back. Here we go. So we're going to talk about the Alpha Legion. Like I said, they are secretive. They're the infiltrators. There's very little actual facts about them, and actually, even when you start reading about them in their books, there'll be 5 different stories that all counteract each other. Their jam is no one ever really knows who the Primarch is, Alfarius. He actually has members of the Legion stand in for him constantly when he's doing instead of him going to a war council, he'll send in someone dressed as him and things like that. I think he's still big for a Primarch, but I don't think he's as gigantic as Vulcan or even Horus or anything like that. So he fits in with his troops really well. If you are looking for good fiction about them, the Horus Heresy novel series is one of my favorite sci-fi series of all time. It's like a comic book where there's tons of different writers, so it can be hit or miss. And also it's such an expansive story, constellation of stories that you kind of pick the main line through it with the main plot, and then it's kind of go find the Legion you like and read about them. Kind of like in comic books, you read the Justice League comic and then you're I like Batman, so I'm gonna read these Batman comics. It's almost the exact same thing. The whole structure of everything really reminds me of comics and their tapestry of continuity and stuff like that. The easiest, if you're looking for Alpha Legion, Legion by Dan Abnett is a fantastic book. I'm about halfway through it right now. And it's interesting is it's not from the Alpha Legion's perspective. It's from the army units that were attached, the army units that the Alpha Legion has come to support. So you're really following, it's almost like an Imperial Guard novel. You're following these soldiers and whatnot as they're getting twisted up into all these, it's more of a spy novel than a war novel. There's a couple really good battle scenes, but mostly it's you're turning the pages trying to see who is, trying to figure out these secrets of who's lying to who, and who's sneaking around who, and it's a lot of fun, and it puts you into that you are off foot the whole time trying to determine what is actually happening and who the Alpha Legion actually are, and I think that's the entire point of the book. Continuing with that, there's actually the Primarch book Alfarius, which is next on my read list. I haven't read it yet, but apparently it's 100% first person perspective. So you finally get a lot of answers because it actually is Alfarius telling the story, and you know who he is because it's narrating the book. If you're looking for them as an antagonist, they show up in Scars, great book by Chris Raitt. White Scars, a little bit of Space Wolves in that book as well, but the Alpha Legion are one of the antagonists. So that's a good book. Those are good, jumping off points for lore if you want to get in on the Alpha Legion. Yeah, my thoughts when it comes to playing the Alpha Legion or building an Alpha Legion list. Well, that's what we're going to get into. I'm not going to break you down like how to build a list. Like hopefully at this point you understand how you buy detachments with heroes. Centurions buy you 2 detachments, and you get your Apex detachment with your high command. So let's start going down through the Legion itself, and then I'll kind of talk about my idea of building like a nice narrative lore heavy list. I'm definitely not a competitive player. I'm not out there to write the most, tournament stomping list of all time. But I've been playing video games, and RPGs since I was like 12 years old. So I like combos. I like finding my own synergies and combos and things like that. And also, it's like you want to play the Legion the way the Legion is written. It's kind of like sometimes it's fun to kind of like it's like, oh, I want to do like a bike army of Death Guard. You know what I mean? It's like be fast Death Guard, but for the most part, you kind of want to like at least I want to kind of stick to the narrative idea of the army when I'm building the list. So breaking down the rules really quick, and this is kind of the structure of the show. I'll go through the armory and the rules really quick. I'm not going to dive into it because there's plenty of that out there already, but we'll kind of gloss over the named units because this whole thing is about building your own narrative army. The named units are very good, and they bring like a very specific advantage to your army. So don't at home on your own time, check them out. But this is going to be about checking out the units that they can take, because those are the things the Alpha Legion can steal, and then also looking at a way to make a cool character out of all the gear and prime slots and things like that they get. So the Alpha Legion armory is pretty light. They get venom spheres, which is pretty cool, like little glass balls that full of poison that you throw. So it's a little blast, 8-inch range blast that's like 4-up poisoned with like barely any AP, like AP5 or something like that. But it's a good way it's an assault weapon, so you can actually use it as volley fire and stuff like that, which would be fun and interesting. But it looks like just like a way, maybe to take down some like tougher units. If you hit it with a Terminator with it, then it's going to wound them on a 4, and they're a little bit harder to get through with toughness 5 these days. Next up, they have powered daggers, which are kind of interesting. They're kind of like a side grade, almost like a downgrade. You get +2 initiative, but -1 strength, and that's kind of hard to reckon with. So you're going to be wounding most things on 5s at that point. You're going to be wounding Terminators on 6s, which is crazy. But it does have breaching 5-up, so you're fishing for your 5s and 6s, knowing they're going to be AP2. And the initiative modifier can probably help you out, but it's a tough sell with the strength, subtraction of strength. Some of your units have them automatically though, so that's cool, and they're actually really good with them that have them, which we'll get into in a little bit. The prime slot that you get for the Alpha Legion is for a command unit, and instead of upgrading the command unit at all, it is kind of like a logistical benefit, but it opens up a new, in the detachment, it opens up a new slot that can be from any other Legion, as long as it's not a unique unit. And it has to have a Legion, like Legion Astartes Blood Angels or Legion Astartes Salamanders, etc. It has to have someone else. It can't be a generic unit, and that's the whole point. So when we get to the part about building a character, it'll be a little different because they don't have they don't have an upgrade specific for the character itself, but more for the entire for your army, for bringing in a new unit. But there are still some cool things I think you can do. So breaking down the units, I won't talk about Alfarius too much. Primarchs are just like a tier above like everything else in the game. It's like, how do you fight a Primarch without a Primarch? I don't know. You hit it with 10 las cannons, or the entire shooting of your army maybe. But Alfarius' cool thing is that he can redeploy at the start of combat. It's a big thing in 40k, but there's really none of it in Heresy. Is right before the game starts, you can actually pick him up and attach him to a different unit or put him somewhere else. And then when he's leading your army, when you're pulling in reserves, any 5-up on your reserve means you can outflank with the unit. So it's kind of interesting. So it kind of like sets you up where you want a lot of alternative types of, you want a lot of reserves and you want a lot of alternative deployments, which is kind of the whole point of the Alpha Legion, you know, is heads of the Hydra striking from multiple angles. So that's, you know, that's Alfarius. Like, he's just an absolute truck in combat. He's got, in fact, he's also like the power daggers. He's really high on initiative. That's kind of his jam. He's not the strongest or the toughest, but like, I think his spear gets up to striking at like initiative 8 or 9. It's intense. So that's Alfarius. He's super cool. Dynat, the named character, is also a lot of fun. He lets you take any unit and infiltrate it, as long as it's not bulky. So you can infiltrate a bunch of meltaguns, infiltrate a bunch of veterans with disintegrator rifles. You can, you know, the sky's the limit. It's pretty cool. But like I said, we're just kind of glossing over the named characters. Next up, man, Alpha Legion actually gets a lot of units. We have 4 special units, and I believe they are all elites, which is pretty intense. It's a very, and not even like, you know, like some are heavy support, some are war, they're all elites. So you're definitely driven for that apex, the apex detachment that gives you elites, because you're going to need them. And also the detachment that you get for the Alpha Legion includes 2 prime recon slots, which is really nice, and 2 elite slots that can only be headhunters or seekers. So, and that's an auxiliary, a really good auxiliary detachment. So you can bring in extra elites. Actually, you can bring a lot of headhunters and seekers are like super powerful. So I almost like I didn't take like 6 of them, because you know what I mean? I went just with 2 units, so it's not abusive, because nobody wants to be that guy. I realized I started diving into the units before going over the last bits of the details. Of course, your Legion trait, you know, your Legion Tactica, is that you always count as 2 inches further away from your enemy than they are, which is really good for melta range, really good for charges. You know, you're making a 2-inch charge turns into a 4-inch charge, a 6-inch charge turns into an 8-inch charge. You know, you might even force people. They might even be able to make the charge because you count so far away. So it pushes you in 2 directions. 2 inches away, always kind of 2 inches away, makes you kind of want to gun line a little bit. You want to sit back and fire with long range shots, because it's a lot harder for them to range you out than it is for you to range them. And I honestly think that it's good for assault units, because you are much harder to charge than they are. You know, you've got no penalty to your charge, and they have a big one. So you can kind of, you know, you might kind of do some snaky counter charges where you get just close enough where they think they can get you and they can't, and then you come in on the next turn. It's fun. It's a lot of, you know, it's a mental game. It's a really cool Legion Tactica. The Gambit that you get as Alpha Legion is incredible. It can only be used on the first turn, but it sets their combat initiative to 1. Whatever it is, you know, you could be fighting Horus, and he could have an initiative modifier +9 for the first combat. You set that to 1, and so it really helps you get that, you know, that alpha strike. You know, Alpha Legion, get in there really quick. They have terrible initiative, you got great initiative, and just, you know, take them out as fast as you can. Great Gambit, really good one. You're going to want to pull it almost every single time, because you can use it in the first round of every single challenge you get into. Finally, and we went over their detachment. It's an auxiliary detachment with 2 prime recon slots, which is crazy, and then 2 elite slots that can only be seekers or headhunters. Then we're moving back into the characters. That's good. So that's the suite of, you know, things that you get. Oh, and their advanced reaction is nice. It's kind of esoteric, but it's really useful when it comes in. You set their precision to 6-up, no matter what it is. So they can have precision 4-up, where 4s, you know, 4-ups go right into your heroes and things like that. And, you know, I am Alfarius. You set it to 6s because it's so hard to determine who is the leader in your unit, because they all look the same. Once again, Fluffy might not come up in every game, but when it does come up, very clutch. And it's not a once per game reaction, so you can pull it every single time. If you're fighting a guy with a lot of snipers, fantastic. You can pull that out like every turn. So that's the suite of abilities that you get with the Alpha Legion. It pushes me, when I'm looking at it, it pushes me in a direction of alternative deployments. You want a lot of infiltrators. You want to outflank. You want deep strikes. I know deep strikes have kind of been toned down, but I think a deep strike, a really good unit deep strike, a really good shooting unit can deep strike extremely well. And I actually, in my list, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Going over the units, there's 4 of them that are elites that you get. 2 of them are just single characters that are kind of like lone wolves that they don't actually attach to units. They both have infiltrate. The first one is Exodus, who sounds like a unique character, but he's not. He's just like they're just like the most super trained snipers that you get. You know, they've got infiltrate 9. He's got shrouded built in, so you don't even have to use the reaction for it, and he's got an incredibly powerful sniper rifle. It's heavy damage, so if you stay still, it will do 2 damage. It causes pinning. This is on the execution shot setting. And then you can change it to a 3-shot, strength 6, AP 3. So just like a Space Marine killer. That I believe is also an assault. But just, you know, you pop him on the highest tower, so he's really far away from everything, and he's hard to see. You know, he's got great visibility on the whole battle, and then you just try and take out Praetors, you try and take out Centurions, even just Voxes, or Sergeants and units and stuff like that. But he is... he's got precision 4-up, and what's even crazier is he's got ballistic skill 8, which is a huge kick. Once you're above ballistic skill 5, you start getting crits on lower and lower numbers. So ballistic skill 8, which is like, that's like Primarch level, you know, it's crazy. He actually does a critical hit on a 4-up. So a 4 is not only a precision hit on whoever you want, it also auto wounds at an additional damage. So you could get a 3 damage shot at AP 2. Cutting right into a, you know, it's like they, you know, if they fail their invuln, like, whew, good stuff, good stuff. The next guy is the Saboteur, who's he also has infiltrate, really interesting unit. He's got Venom Seers, a dagger, and kind of a special shotgun. And I think the special, I kind of like looked at it from a bunch of angles trying to figure out what his purpose is, and I think it's the special shotgun. He has a special rule. He infiltrates, he's by himself, but he has a special rule where you cannot shoot him unless you move within 6 inches and pass an intelligence check. So he's literally invulnerable on the field. I think you can still charge him and whatnot, but so he doesn't have support. So I guess he's pretty good at taking an objective early on, or just kind of being like a little like an annoyance to the enemy. As soon as he shoots, he loses that rule. But you know, the ghost rule where he can't be shot at. But you can just kind of, I guess, like the really cool thing about his shotgun is that stun. And I think that is the jam with this guy, is that you infiltrate him, you're kind of like harrying the enemy. They have to spend time dealing with you, which they don't want to. And then at some point you can just pull off that shotgun shot and hopefully stun a unit, and they can't react. You know, so then you could hit it with something, it can't return fire, so then you can shoot, you know, a scary return fire unit, a unit that's gonna, you know, have shrouded, or just stop it from reacting, stop it from scoring. You know, I think that's his point. Next up, we're moving to the kind of like the more traditional units of squads. Headhunters are fantastic. They are a little pricey. It's like 125 points for the unit, 20 points a pop after that, and they're just a standard, you know, 1 wound legionary kind of stat line. But they're equipped with a Bane Strike Combi Bolter, which if you're a Sons of Horus player, your eyes just popped up like, whoa, yeah. 6 shots with breaching 6-up, or excuse me, 4 shots like a combi bolter would have, but it's breaching 6-up, so it's volume of fire and just fishing for those 6s to get that AP2. And then the unit itself also has precision 4-up, so you can just dump an unholy amount of fire into their into their characters. And I think that whereas, you know, Exodus will just 1-shot pop them, I think that you can just kind of like bury like a Praetor in fire. And, you know, like all these precision breaching shots, and even the unbreaching shots, just be like, hey, here's 12 more saves you got to make, you know. Headhunters are a really interesting unit. They've got that precision, they've got infiltrate, you know, so they can forward deploy, and they can easily get off these, you know, kind of alpha strikes to take out their characters. And you can also take either a heavy bolter or a multi-melta with them, which is just bananas. They also have ballistic skill 5, so they're hitting on 2s. So I guess they're a little better than a standard legionary. You're getting your points worth. And man, you know, like the multi-melta, you'd think that it's kind of there so you can like maybe like hit a tank, or, you know, behind enemy lines and stuff like that. But I also think that just like putting a precision multi-melta shot into a Praetor, like, let's go. That's pretty awesome. That's like almost as like, that's like hitting somebody like the Exodus guy was, you know, but it's just a dude in your squad. So I find the headhunters are very interesting. I think they're really well worth it. They're kind of like a different type of seeker. But just they don't have any status effects that they're causing, but just a good unit. You know, harrying the enemy early on, just they've got to spend resources to take it out while the rest of your army is just kind of getting into position and stuff like that. Really good, very Alpha Legion. The final unit they get is the Lernian Terminators, which are crazy good. First of all, the big difference they have with other Terminators, they're in Cataphracti, so the 4-up invuln, super slow, their count is heavy. But they, instead of Vanguard, like most Terminators have, they have line 1. So they're actually really good at holding objectives, which I thought was interesting. And the idea is they're the coiled snake. They wrap, you know, like the Hydra, or I guess like a snake would wrap around, like a anaconda would constrict around you. And that's kind of the whole point, is they get to a location, they just tighten in on it. Also, I kind of almost feel bad. I mean, you know, I just started playing the army, so it's not like I'm like a classic player, but Lernian Terminators still get every single like item option that you could get. They're built with Volkite chargers and power axes standard, but you can replace the power axes with power mauls, power fists, chain fists. It's crazy. They get the full suite of melee weapons that a Terminator could get, and then they also get Volkite chargers or combi bolters, and they're allowed to take out of every 5. They get a plasma blaster or a a Reaper autocannon or a heavy flamer like a normal Terminator squad with, but they can also take a conversion beam, which is just, as soon as I started playing Alpha Legion, I was just like, I want all the conversion beams. Do you want to be as far away as possible from the enemy, and they're counting as 2 inches further away from the enemy already? Like, let's go. That sounds like a lot of fun. Hyper long range shots on those conversion beams. And then if you think that this Terminator unit has line 1 and a conversion beam, you can just park that guy on a home field objective, dare someone to come take it from you, and just be unloading these long range shots the whole game. Really fun unit, really interesting. Oh, and the other thing they have Hatred Legion Astartes. Like, what? And weapon skill 5? Like, what the? So they can take any item, and then they get +1 to wound when they're fighting just any Legion Astartes. Like, absolutely bonkers. I think that they're both, they don't have Vanguard, but I still think that they're good at taking objectives as well, because they can just get on there and just murder stuff. Especially if you're fighting another Space Marine player, which lets, 90% of the time that's what's going to be happening. So, okay, cool. We're hitting the 22-minute mark. We're getting to the end of the show, which is just about, I want to keep them at 30 minutes and maybe a little less. So, those are the units. Once again, this is a little bit different. Most of the time, we're going to go through those units and then talk about which ones I want to steal for Alpha Legion. But this is, the Alpha Legion episode. So, what we'll do is, I just kind of want to give you a breakdown of how I would make an Alpha Legion list. Like I said, I'm not gonna show you my notes or anything like that and go into it. I'm just going to talk about things that I would want to include in the list, things I would specifically go for, and then I'm going to make a couple characters. So there's three things that I thought about when I made this list. First was conversion beams. I was just like, I just want as many conversion beams as possible. I love them. I think they're cool. They're like old school 1950s death rays, and you just feel like they make like a whoa, 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 whoa noise when you fire it. You know what I mean? Like, they're just cool. So I wanted conversion beams. I wanted alternative deployments. So I've got infiltrators, outflankers, and deep strikers. And then I wanted, it's Alpha Legion. They're actually, ironically, they're one of the most numerous legions because they've been secretly recruiting this whole time. No one actually, it's on paper, they look like the smallest legion, but they're actually one of the largest. So I wanted to go slightly horde mode. I wanted just a ton of bodies. We are Legion, Alpha Legion. So I started with 40 tacticals, 1 squad of 20, and then 2 squads of 10. Tacticals are really good. Line 2, tons of bolter shots these days. I just, like 40 of them's a big block. It's 400 points, which is not that bad, honestly, if your army, plus like 30 points for Voxes on them. But I did not give them any rhinos. The 20 block is going to be sitting kind of on a home field objective, and the other guys are just going to be running the field. But the reason I didn't go rhinos is because I have so much other stuff on. Like, I've got 2 squads of Seekers and a squad of Headhunters, plus Exodus and a Vigilator, which is the generic sniper character. So I've got like 4 units already on the no man's land before I've even started playing. So I figured that like I won't need the rhinos as much. For the 40 tacticals, a bunch of Seekers, a bunch of Headhunters. I went with 2 Predators with heavy conversion beamers on there. I've got a Lurdian squad with another conversion beam. So that's, it's not bad. It's like 3 of them in the army. I went with a drop pod. I think, drop podding a single unit, I think could be extremely helpful. And I've got a 10-pack of Melta guys. So just support squad with Meltas, just drop it in a drop pod and hopefully pop in a tank or 2 before they get shot to pieces. And I took a Land Raider Explorador, which is the weird, kind of like the odd step cousin of the Land Raider. It does not have an assault ramp because it's got a dozer blade on it, but it does have outflank. Very small. It can only carry 10 people, so it's actually less than a Rhino, but the outflank is huge. And for my list, I've actually popped the Lurdian squad into the Land Raider Explorator. So on turn 1 or 2, hopefully turn 1 or 2, maybe 3, they'll come in off the side and dump the Terminators that are lying onto an objective, and then they can just sit there holding that objective for the rest of the game, hopefully. I still gave them the conversion beamer because I love it. I love it to death. So they're not going to be sitting on the home field objective. They're going to be kind of upward, forward playing, but I love the thing, so I still took it. So yeah, that's kind of like the breakdown of the list. You got some armor in there. You got deep strikers, snipers, tons of boots on the ground. Oh, I also took a pack of Saturnine Terminators. I'm waiting for the Forges of Saturn journal to come out because they've got a command squad. They've got a melee squad of the Saturnine Terminators, which I really want because I'm kind of missing melee punch in this army, but I think that would be the most melee punch that exists. I'm getting real close to the end here, so I will break down really fast the characters that I've made. The first one is I took a Vigilator and I gave him the prime slot. Oh my god, I'm blanking on it. It's the one where you get +1 to your weapon skill, ballistic skill. It's like the most popular one. Paragon of Battle, there it is. I gave a Vigilator Paragon of Battle because he's terrible in melee, but it does boost his ballistic skill, and like the Exodus, it pushes him up to an 8. So your Vigilator is getting those crits on 4-ups, and he already has precision 4-up. I think that's just crucial. I think that extra boost of your critical hit is just going to come in like the clutch all the time. And then my other character, I got a little weird with it. I took a Lernian Terminator squad, and the leader of it, I was talking about it, weapon skill 5, Hatred, Legion of Astartes, really good melee weapons. The leader gets 4 attacks instead of 3. So I gave them Master Sergeant because it knocks him up to weapon skill 6, 5 attacks, and gives him Champion. So that guy, that's 1 wound less than a Centurion with, I think, an extra attack with, you give him Power Fists. Like, you can give him Chain Fists, which I guess would knock him down to 4 attacks, but that's still a crazy amount of attacks with a Chain Fist. So that's my 2 cents on my characters. I've got kind of, and that squad is going to be in by itself, unsupported in a Land Raider Explorator, so I figure it's being led by like a super sergeant, the Harrower or the Harrow Master. So yeah, that's my Alpha Legion breakdown, guys. That's all about Alpha Legion. For this episode's hanging with Horus, Thursdays with Horus. This has been 5 Up Recovery, the channel. Please, if you get a chance, hit that like and subscribe. If you like heresy content, come back every Thursday. I'm gonna have a couple other shows. I'm gonna have another show that actually showcases my novels lore, the stuff that I write. But I figured on Thursdays we'll keep it Warhammer, Horus Heresy, and just for some structure. Last thing, I got a minute left. I'm going to roll a d20, and that's going to be the next Legion that we cover. We'll keep it random, and then as we get on, we'll drop down to d12s and d6s, but let's see. I guess if I get the 2nd Legion or the, 11th Legion, I got to reroll. And if I get a 20, which would be great, a crit. All right, I got a 2, ironically enough, so we're going to reroll that. 12. Next week, we'll be doing the 12th Legion here with Carter. Everybody, take care. Stay safe out there and have a great week. I'll see you next Thursday. Good night.